Hey Forza heads, welcome to my definitive front engine rear wheel drive tuning guide. In this video you're going to learn at least 5 things that you shouldn't be doing with your cars and at least 5 things or more that you should be doing with your cars. You're going to learn how to set them up to start with in a base tune setting, so you're going to know how to build the cars and where to start, and then I'm going to show you the couple of things. It's only going to be a couple of things that you're going to need to adjust once you know what you're doing, whether you want a little bit more rotation or a little bit more grip outside of the bend or a little bit more turning on the inside of the bend. So we're going to be running through it. I'm going to give you a little demonstration of what you can do with this tune. So we've got a Maloo here, which I've built the same way I build all these cars. We've got a couple of cars we can try. I'm going to jump in. We're going to try a little test lap in this car here. So the main aim of the game here for parts, let's just go through quickly, is to balance the car. So generally with a car like this, you're always going to see you've got 52% front and 48% rear. Now if it's the other way round, with a lighter weight at the back and a heavier weight at the rear, that's naturally going to create rotation. Hence mid-engined or rear-engine cars always can create rotation. So if you're in a Porsche, you might recognise that rear-engine 911s are rotation heavy, and McLarens and things like that are quite neutral in rotation. They get in and they do the job quite easily. And then front engine cars like BMWs and stuff, sometimes more like Mercedes and things that aren't necessarily so well balanced, you have to sort of get into a corner late and get out of a corner late. There's a different driving style, but you can eliminate most of the problems by balancing the car. So the trick is to get your balance on it. So the build for this Maloo is, we've got the standard engine, we've got the full race parts, we've got the race transmission, street drive line and race differential. Wheels, we've got SV Imolas with standard size. Tyres, we've got full size and race compound. Oh no, we've got 265s on the front and 315s on the rear, so we've staggered them again to just help with the grip of the rear end. And in the A class, which we're in at the moment, you don't really need more than 235 on the front tyres, depending on what car you're in. But these cars have been balanced, have added a little bit of weight, so we have got full weight reduction. We've got 2 clicks of ballast, which brought us to 50-50 weight distribution. We've got the middle roll cage, race springs and roll bars, and then we've got a flywheel. The rest of it is stock. So that's the build. I'll run through the tune and how we do the tunes on these cars in a second, but what I'll do first, we've got a couple of cars we can try that I have built the same way, just to give you a demonstration. But you can see, I mean, you're going to see the delta's going to change between these cars quite significantly, but the lap time possibly won't. So this does say it's got a delta of 235, which is pretty quick, let's just say. The track is all set even, so it's not going to improve. We're going to start in our worst car anyway, probably, which is the Maloo pickup truck. Not many of you, I'm not sure how many of you have tried to get this around Spa, but yeah, with this tune it's going to look pretty easy. Now, do you know what sort of times you're looking at for Spa generally? I'd say most of you are going to be capable of the 235, and probably if you get better than that, it's going to be a bonus. But with this car, you're going to see that it's quite capable of putting in probably something to get you in the top couple of 100 in the leaderboard. So we're off. We're going to hit a good lap, show you what it's capable of. Like I say, the main aim of the game, we're not going to use any telemetry or anything. I'm going to give you a base tune that's going to make every front engine rear wheel drive car behave like this. So you can see it pulls quite well, straight through all the gears. Gearing is something that I'll show you, that there's some myths to the gearing that we'll go through that I've covered in other videos, but we'll go through it when I go through the tune. About, you know, having it all the way down on acceleration creates acceleration. You know, this is a myth. Your gearing comprises of 2 gears. Basically just robbing off Peter to pay Paul. If you put it all the way to acceleration, you're going to get the same bet, but you can't manoeuvre it as much when you go track to track for Pacific tunes where, you know, or tracks where the straights are shorter. So I'm going to show you how to set your gears up and how you dial them in for shorter tracks or shorter straights, like maybe like Brands Hatch or somewhere like that, compared to Road Atlanta or somewhere like here at Spa or Road America. We've already probably ruined this lap, but try not to get a penalty. So most people will tell you about going into telemetry and looking at this and looking at that and looking at the other, but all it's about is feel, trying to maximise the amount of rotation you can get out of the car. Knowing how to drive the car is obviously part of it, and making it as easy as you can to get the best time out of it. And most of it comes from smoothness. It's been able to have the confidence in a tune to push a car to its limits. You've also got to have the confidence sometimes not to be braking, just let a car off the throttle and let it roll into a bend. Rolling into a bend is a lot more efficient than braking into a bend. It's like, for instance, this turn up here that we're going to go into can be a tricky bend because everyone tries to brake last minute. The trick with this bend is to come towards it, lay off now, touch the brake, find your inside line, get back on the gas, and look, we're leaving the corner at 137s, 38s, no problem at all. It's not king of the last brakes for every bend. You need to get in and get the right line so you can have the smoothest exit possible, and therefore we can maximise our lap time potential. We're on 31s, or 32 sixes. I wouldn't say it's too bad for a Maloo. Two tenths up. Almost 4 tenths. I mean, you need to generally understand with these cars, as a stock car with its weight shifted to the front, it's a lot harder to control the rotation because the back's lighter. Once that front end gets in under braking, as soon as you start applying power, because you've got even less weight on the front, on the rear under braking, as soon as you try and add power to the exit of the bend, you'll start to lose traction, which is fine, but like you'll have to inherently tune that out by either dropping a bit of front aero or increasing rear aero, depending on where you've got your aero set. If you've got it full the way up, you're going to need to decrease the front. If you've got it in the middle or somewhere like that, then you can just increase the rear. And then if you want a little bit of extra turning and rotation, you're going to need to just, reduce the front roll bar a little bit or increase the rear roll bars. I'll show you where we've got set. All these cars are set exactly the same. We're almost a second up on time now as I chat my way around the course. Kind of get a nice smooth line through this bend here so we can get on the throttle early. Be over a second up now, yeah. Little touch a second just to get the front end in there. We're going to lay off, get into the curb, get back on. Oh, we lost a little bit of time through there, but we're still almost a second up. It's going to be 31s in a Maloo. Do you think you're capable of getting 31s in a Maloo with your tune or anyone else's tune? Because soon you're going to be doing it with this tune, which you're going to know how to tune. And it will be your tune. Gone a little bit late on that corner there. Still in the 9s though, not too bad. Probably lost a little bit of speed on the run down to this bend, but hopefully we can get it with smoothness. Cut as much of the corners as we're allowed. Oh, 0.8, we're still into 31s. With rev limit slap, 31.8. Let me know if you thought you could do 31.8 in a Maloo. So, we showed you the build for this car. I will show you another car quickly. Something that may be a little bit different. Let's have a look. Something in again that's probably front heavy. What do we have? Cadillac, I think I had somewhere. I think it's this one. It's not got the button. There it is there. So again, this has got a pretty good delta of 35s once we get down in the fuel. So the upgrade build on this one would be exactly the same. So we've got standard engine, we have got the body kit on it, we've got the rear wing that gives us the most amount of downforce, we've got the transmission, race driveline and race diff. Wheels we've got Imolas again, race tyres, 275s and 335s. We've got full brakes, we've got full weight reduction, race springs and anti-roll bars as always. First reinforcement, and then we balance the car again because it's 51.49 again, just to make it easier. Some cars you may need 2 or 3 pieces, but it's worth doing. You may see your power to weight ratio go down slightly, but the car's going to be so much more drivable everywhere on the course, so a little bit of power to weight you lost on a slight uphill climb or something like that is going to be less beneficial than what you gained everywhere else on the course. So it's all about balance and finesse with the car. You know, we've also set the car up stiffer than you probably imagine in some places. Again, that just improves the agility and makes it easier to naturally eke the time out of the car. So we've got an air filter on sport, and we've got the flywheel on sport, and that gives us 472 horsepower and 3183. Okay, so can't put a 370Z engine in it. Again, if I was going to be building a car in A class or below, I'll be going for the 370Z engine, or in some circumstances the 3.2 litre inline 6 from the BMWs, and then I'd be supercharging them, and most of the time that'll give you enough power, and then whatever handling you can get out of it and lightweight. It's all about applying less weight. You know, if you add power, you'll only get faster in a straight line. Words of Colin Chapman. If you take away weight, you'll get faster everywhere. Your braking becomes improved, your handling becomes improved, your rotation becomes improved, everything's improved. So think about, you know, sort of which power range you want to be in this class, but generally you want to be eking out as much handling as you can out of the car. Now we've generally gone for around 4.7s and 4.8s, but we've got the BMW with 4.3 GTS we'll try in a second, and we've got this Cadillac, which is I think 4.6 possibly. Oh no, it's 4.8 as well. So more mediums again. Let's go down. 35s. So again, we're going to try Cadillac CTS-V. This has got the exact same tune. I can show you the Maloo again afterwards when we go through. I'll give you a quick demonstration. I just want to show you what these cars are capable of, because I don't want you know, trying these tunes and going, no, you know, this tune is solid. You can see what it's capable of, and then I'll explain why I've done what I've done. Oh, sorry, we accidentally went over the start line. Now I'm going to run it backwards. I'll skip that bit, and then we'll get a rolling start without having to do a lap. It'd be nice if you could skip lap, it'd be a lot easier. But gearing's pretty crucial with these. Gearing's pretty crucial with all classes really. You're going to want to maximise the amount of acceleration you get out of the car. You want to get a great launch, you want to be making spaces off the line, you don't want to be in a car that's struggling to get off the line. Like some front wheel drives, you just find people make the first gear too long thinking it's going to eliminate the wheel spin. You need to get out of first gear to eliminate the wheel spin. So you generally want a short first gear and a long second gear. With these all geared the same, probably looking at about 37 mile an hour in first gear. Again, nice short and stubby. Oh, let me just rewind that. Yeah, nice short and stubby gears in a sense, so probably looking at 37, then maybe 68, 69 for second gear, probably almost 90 mile an hour for third gear. Sorry for the cheeky rewind there, but just want to show you what this is capable of. It's all about getting into the bends early. Sometimes between the bends you only want to be squeezing half throttle, otherwise you push yourself too hard between the corner. Just want to carry the right speed, not too much speed. And like I say, on some corners it's all about killing your speed a little bit earlier than you think, and then just having to roll in. Keeping that line yellow really. If you've got the line on, you want to be keeping it red and yellow as much as you can. can see this is another car that's solid, exactly the same tune, exactly the same roll bars, aero and everything. Aero is full up on these tunes at the moment, but you can obviously decrease it for Road America and things like that, or places where you want to get a little bit more speed, even around here. Sometimes having that little bit more speed is your advantage in a race, because if you rely on the corner to overtake all the time, it can be harder if you know, not able to negotiate your way around someone so easily who's been maybe a bit of a blocker. But I always like to think it's a way round. If you block me too much, I'm just going to find the hardest way round, and it'll probably affect you more. So there's a lesson I give to most people. That's pretty impressive though, around here on the 154s. I mean, that was my delta coming out of that bottom bend. Now we're just going to come to this corner. We're going to let off early. Oh look, we did pick up a penalty. Still turned in really nice, but it's going to be another fine lap. Or 32.0s. So we're going 32.0 out of a Cadillac's pretty strong around Spa, especially for your first outing. I presume I'd get that into the 31s, possibly even the 30s, once we've done a couple of laps. So let me go through one last car with you again, and just to show you, so it's not even necessarily you have to have high handling. So we'll go with like a BMW 2010. Oh, sorry, might play it up. Go with the BMW 2010 M3 GTS. So again, I'll go through the build with you quickly, and then we'll go through the tune. I'll explain everything. So again, we've got the stock engine, we've got the stock wing because it is a race wing already, transmission, race drive line and differential. We've got stock wheels on this. I do like the stock wheels on some of the cars just because they're, well, match the car sometimes. And we've got the race tyres with the full tyre width, which is 265 305, brakes are sport, race springs, race roll bars, weight reductions on sport, chassis refinement is on stock, which is the second one, which would be sport. And then we've got 2 bits of ballast, which, to be fair, I think we'd only need 1 on this to take it down from 52 to 50, but we've got 2 because this car has got a little bit of power to weight. Well, it hasn't got any power to weight compared to anything else, but you know, in the Forza world and ideas, it has. So that is the build. I don't think we don't have anything on the engine. We've got nothing on the engine. That is the build, and we're running at the standard 444 horsepower with a weight of 3310 and a power to weight of 134, and we're split at 50-50. So I'll go through the tune with this quickly. So the tune on the tyres, I've generally got these set up at 30 and 29. Now sometimes on the lower classes, you might see in the other tunes, if it shows you the tyres on the first page, that they're on 32 and 32. Generally, I'll increase the pressure a little bit as you go down the classes, because the tyres just take a little bit longer to warm up, so it helps if you start them closer to the temperature than they are. You don't really notice any extra tyre wear or anything like that, and you're still within the parameters of grip. The parameters of grip are going to be somewhere between 29 psi and probably 34 psi. It's a fairly wide range on Forza Motorsport, so generally if you start at 32 in the lower classes, you'll get up to 34. If you start here, we're probably going to get up to 32s, but then that's going to allow our tyres to, because of the extra power, you've got more chance of wheel spinning and heating the tyres up. It's going to allow them to cool down a little bit more on the longer straights and things like that, and it's going to help you manage the tyres as well as get the most out of them. Softer tyres are better than harder tyres for grip, especially on things like launch and stuff like that. So that's where we have the tyre pressure. Gearing wise, like I say, we're generally in the 30s and the 60s. So this car is 39, 65, 90, 115, 137, 157 and 174. This does have a 7-speed box, so you can utilise it a bit more. But the myths about gearing generally are, like, people mostly put, oh yeah, if you go down to acceleration, this is the fastest way to set gears. I mean, I don't know whether you just read that here, like it says acceleration, so it must be acceleration, but the gears are a combination of 2 things. It's your final drive and the gear drive, so you've got 2 cogs. So like, for instance, on a motorbike where you get the front pinion and the rear sprocket, if you take 1 tooth off the front pinion, that basically goes to acceleration. But then to get any top speed back, you'll have to add teeth to the back, and generally 8 teeth on the back equals 1 tooth off the front. So if you essentially, if I run this down to acceleration but then still set the gear back to 39 mile an hour, it's still going to do the same thing. It's just doing it by having a larger front cog and a smaller rear cog. If you do it the other way around, it's got a larger rear cog and a smaller front cog. You're robbing off Peter to pay Paul. Generally, if you set your car up as in the middle of acceleration and speed and then gear it to where you want. If I now go to Brands Hatch and I find at Brands Hatch I'm only hitting 157 mile an hour, I can then go all the way down to 154 mile an hour, and then I'll have even more brutal acceleration. I might have to control it a little bit more on the throttle, but it's going to be a lot more effective down the straights and everywhere on the track. And I was able to do it pretty easily. Sometimes you might want to just maybe click a bit of length or feel it, like I say, but generally if you look at the arc on the left hand side, if you change one you've got to change the others so you smooth it out still. So if I wanted to, I could still click that one length like that, to be honest, but then if I wanted to lengthen second gear, then I can go like that and it makes it a bit smoother. Then I'd need to just lengthen third a little bit like that, and then we're back where we were. Yeah, so I will not save that. So we go back in. So the gearing's how it is at the moment. Now on camber we're just going to have at 2.0, 1.5. Toe is going to be on out 1 and out 1 on the rear. This is going to be definitive for all of these types of cars. All this is going to do, so on Assetto Corsa and games like that, generally you'd go in 1 and in 1, and that would create rotation. You can obviously go further and get more rotation. In Forza World, it's out 1 and out 1 creates rotation on the front and rotation on the rear. In the real world, it would be in on the front and out on the rear. So no one gets it right here apart from Felix Gibbon, I suppose. But it's out on Forza Motorsport to create a little bit extra turning on the front, and it's out on the rear to create a little bit of extra rotation on the rear. If you start going crazy town with these, it will make it harder to manage when you clip like sausage curbs at speed, like around Kalami and things like that. It will start spitting you off them a little bit harder with a little bit more rear action. In front-wheel drive cars and four-wheel drive cars, you can play around with the toe a bit more excessively to create rotation, but I'll go through that on a different video. And caster we always set to high. Now on a steering wheel, a high caster would enable you to get more force feedback naturally through the car tune rather than through the steering wheel tune. So the negative for this on a steering wheel would be that you feel more feedback. On a controller you don't feed any feedback, so you can have as much caster as you like anyway. But generally, even in Assetto Corsa and things like that, you would maximise the caster because it maximises the camper of the front wheels on turning. So it just aids with a bit more rolling grip, as it were, because as the car pivots from left to right with more camber, you've got less friction sort of as you turn in, and as the car leans over onto the tyre, it flattens off and you get more and more contact area on the tyre the harder you kind of go with it. So yeah, we always run a high front caster, and you'll notice on some of the cars that have been released recently, they're tuning things, like I did do a video on like the new Hyundai, that's set up with a lot of rear toe because it's front wheel drive and things like that, so you find some of the cars have sort of been tuned more as they've been released to what you should be having on Forza as opposed to what they started with, because most cars are tuned wrong. Now, anti-roll bars, this is where most of your rotation is going to be created and controlled. So I've gone for an even roll bar, which most of the time, if I wanted to create more rotation out of the car, I would drop the front. If I wanted to create more control out of the car, I would drop the rear. But the reason we've gone up to 30 is because a stiffer roll bar takes out the boaty wallow from left to right. Yeah, so when you go into a corner, like in real life, if you drive a BMW M3 or something, yeah, then they corner quite sweet. They're balanced even naturally on their roll bars, which are quite stiff. They're naturally balanced quite well, and it eliminates most of the wallow without taking the comfort out of it, kind of thing. You can go stiffer, but like as a road car, they're pretty stiff. However, if you get in an Audi S4 or like a Mercedes, see like E55 or something like that, or heavier Mercedes, generally you get a lot more wallow through the corner because the roll bars aren't as stiff and they've gone for a bit more comfort than sport. Yeah, they've got the power to blast in straight lines, and they've got in the case of the Audi, it's still got the four-wheel drive to manage corners at great speed, but like they also have more of a comfort to them than the BMW M Sports generally go for. They go for a bit more driver's focus in a sense, otherwise get the 330. But so roll bars we put up here because it gives us the agility, and we haven't gone to the limit because then that gives us a little bit to fine tune. So if you want a little bit extra rotation out the rear, you just put the rear up if you wanted a little bit more control out of the front on entrance, you just put this down. Now if you find you wanted rotation and you put this one down by a chunk, and now your turning has improved massively, but then when you exit the corner your rear end has become loose, then you need to go to your aero, which we've got full up at the moment, and just drop this down to probably halfway first and try it, and you'll find that will kill the front end after rotation. So you'll get the initial turn in from the roll bars, but then as you sort of get to the centre of the corner, the front end kind of slows down, where the rear is now picking up more aero than the front, and then when you get on the gas, because you've got more rear aero, you get more grip out of the corner. So it will feel like it creates understeer, but it's understeer as opposed to the oversteer you create with the roll bars, and that is how you'd fight. If you were down here already because you wanted a little bit of extra speed on the course you were on, which I'd suggest if you were going just for more speed and not to change handling, you'd want to keep these pretty even to where they were. If you found you dropped the front a bit, then to create rotation, but now you wanted more speed, you'd want to move them down together to where you had them like this, in a sense, with a bit more rear aero than front. Like I say, this will reduce rotation and increase rear grip on the exit of the bend, whereas if you increase the front, this will also aid rotation, as you get into the corner with the aero and the turning, the more air will press down on the front of the car, and it will make the rear slightly lighter at that point, which will then start to over rotate the car. So where we talked about balance, like when you build a car and making it 50-50, that makes the rotation neutral, so the rear end kind of never becomes too light, so it's quite neutral when you throw it in. It's all about timing and smoothness. If you want to be a bit late and harder with it, then you're going to need a bit of extra rotational speed, because you're going to throw it in later. You're going to command it to rotate a bit harder to get to where you are if that's your driving style. So then you're going to want to maybe run off a little bit of aero, because then as you get the throw in, that'll increase the rotation from mid to corner exit. But then again, if you find that you're losing a bit of traction that way, then the opposite way, you can either go to your anti-roll bars and you can just increase the front a little bit, and again that will fight the oversteer maybe on the exit of the bend, but not as effectively as we done it the other way round. So other than that, with the aero you'd be forced to generally just increase the rear until you get the right amount of grip, and then if you find that steals rotation away, then just drop your roll bar a smidge to get the rotation back. And these are really the only two things that you're going to need to change on this tune. So I mean, roll bars at the moment we're going to leave at 30-30 because that's where we were, just to show you the balance does work on every car. You can obviously create more rotation if you need it, because some driving styles require it if you're a bit later on the brakes and harder on the turning. But I suggest that you learn how to drive with this tune, and then you'll learn how to be smooth, because this requires a little bit of an earlier layoff and probably a little bit more of a roll into a corner than to be the king of the late breakers and hard on the brakes to the end. You want to learn how to roll into a corner and just watch that line go from red to orange, and then start applying throttle again, but not on a full manner, just squeezing it like toothpaste. So with the springs, by having it 50-50, generally it's quite easy to set your springs. You want to be just below halfway and around 50-50, like so. Because the weight's balanced, we can set the springs pretty balanced. There's no rocket science here, right? So we don't need telemetry, we just need to know it's comfortable and it can handle the bumps. So generally I will knock the rear off slightly, so I would be, say, 900 and 880 or 900 and 875. It'd be between 20 and 25, so we'll just go 880 at the moment just to show you it doesn't make a difference. But all this does, it does make a difference. It's slight. As you throw the rotation into the car, having a slightly softer rear spring gives you something that just counteracts that over rotation, but in a manner in which it doesn't really affect anything else, right? Because we've got a car that's 50-50 weight and we're only missing 20 pounds an inch. You know, it's probably about 2% of the weight difference between the front and the back there on the spring ratio, so just over. But that means we've just got a little bit of subtlety, but if you apply the subtlety here, it doesn't really create many negative effects, apart from if you go into somewhere like the Nürburgring and you find when you go down the big dips and you get the compressions at the bottom, generally like sort of about 2 minutes in and probably near the end of the track when you come down the dip again, generally you might just want to stiffen your rear up then slightly, because again it's not going to hurt you. It might create a little bit more rotation, but again when you hit the bottom of the dip with the front, your front's going to compress more than the rear, and that's going to eliminate that sort of bounce off that you get from them compression sometimes. Some cars can handle it this way, and some cars just need a little bit of extra rear spring, but again, you're not really going to need to change anything there. And then ride height, we're down to the bottom, so unless you're going to be travelling over curbs and going bang and hitting them, which doesn't really slow you down too much as long as you hit the square, then just knock it up too, but keep them the same. Again, if you wanted to subtly increase the rotation of a car, you can increase the rear ride height. If you want to subtly decrease the rotation of the car, you can increase the front ride height, but I'd probably do it a click at a time, because then the changes are enough but not too much, if you know what I mean. Like, you'll be able to understand just one click maybe made the difference of the rotation of the car, because basically, so the aero is done by obviously a division of the amount of air that hits the car is split by what goes underneath the car and what goes over the top of the car. Now, as most of the aerodynamics in Forza Motorsport is on top of the car, it makes it right that you're going to want to send most of the air over the top of the car. However, if you start lifting the car, then you'll get a less of a proportion of the air percentage wise going over the car. So for instance, you might get 98% air effectiveness from here in a sense, and then, you know, so on and so on. So it's hard to tell you what effectiveness you'll get, but you'll feel the difference. If you click the front up, you'll slightly lose rotation and you get a bit more control. If you click the rear up, you'll slightly gain rotation and the rear will become more manoeuvrable or faster in its direction changes. So I normally keep it whatever it comes at. You know, if they're already different, I'm not really bothered. Some cars have a negative rake, some cars have a positive rake, and the rest of the cars generally set up to be how it is. So this tune will work with whatever you've got. So damping again, so we're just going to go 5.0, 4.8, 7.5, 7.2. So this is just 50% higher than these two numbers. So 5 plus 50% is 7.5, 4.8 plus 50% is 7.2. It's pretty easy, but you can use that on every car, going all the way up to probably, you know, S class and even into R class. If you're going into R class, you might want to go up to like 6 and 9 or something like that, you know, and 7.8 or sorry, 8.7 and 5.8 or something like that. So yeah, you don't need to change any of these. It makes no difference. You don't need to go and look at telemetry and see what they're doing. This will control the amount of bounce you get off of the curb when you go over them and around courses, and this will mean that you won't really get much bounce. Some cars might give you a little bit more, to which you're just going to want to probably increase your rebound slightly, and that should manage that, but most cars are going to work effectively across curbs with this setting. It's generally down to how fast you hit a curb, so most of the time you're going to be hitting curbs, you know, at similar speeds. You start going up into R class and that, and you're going to start hitting curves probably, you know, 20, 30 mile an hour faster, so you might want to look at increasing it then. But on the lower groups, this is fine, and all the way up to, like I say, S class, this is fine. Suspension geometry, so this is just raising the roll center height offset. So this basically, if you think about your springs positioned over your lower arms that are running horizontally face each other, what you're doing, and McLaren have done this with their new Formula 1 car this year, they've kind of raised the arm angle so they're more vertical, which basically puts a greater load of the body roll into the solid structures of the suspension as opposed to the springy parts of the suspension. So you get less body roll when you get more reaction, so it makes the car more agile if you're trying to, like, if an incident happens in front of you or someone brakes checks you, and if you quickly move left or right, you're going to get a quicker reaction out of the car. It's going to make it a lot easier to get in and out of trouble. Well, I say in and out of trouble, it's going to make it a lot easier to get in a corner and out of trouble. So yeah, 9.8 and 9.8 is where I run all of my cars regardless. If you wanted to create a little bit more rotation, you can run the rear slightly stiffer, almost like a roll bar. If you wanted to recreate a little bit more stability, you can drop the rear, just similar to a roll bar. But these I run high for agility and I use a roll bar for rotation. But as you can see, the roll bar we've just neutralised. We've done it with every car. Anti-dive and anti-squat, again, this is for agility. Now if you're mid-corner and two people have a little pit manoeuvre on one another and one of them comes sliding down the track and you've got to push on the brakes quickly and then try and manoeuvre out the way, again, this is going to mean you get less wallow on the brakes. It's going to be more controlled under braking. If you're someone who has to use the brake a couple of times going into the corner, you go off and on the brakes and off and on the brakes, this again is going to give you far more control by having this up than it is having it down. And the anti-squat, again, you know, by having this too soft, it may give you a little bit of control and subtleness out the rear, but the time in which it takes the throttle to respond to the tyres and the car levering itself backwards and everything is a delay, and it's a delay on the amount of grip that's applied to the rear wheels. You want it to happen quickly and seamlessly, so by having it stiff you don't get much wallow, so the grip is actually pretty even, and it's more down to how much you squeeze the throttle. But as soon as you touch the throttle you're going to start getting movement and grip, which can help you with the rotation and it can help you with exits of corners. But sometimes you're just going to need to apply half the throttle to get that little bit of slip that you need just to get the front end in, and then you can style it out. And with these settings it's going to make it easy to kind of drift through bends a little bit, and it's going to make it easy to, you know, develop enough squirm just to create rotation or exit from the corner. Sometimes you're picking up a little bit of understeer, you can apply a little bit of throttle and it's going to go straight to them rear wheels, and it's going to apply a little bit of oversteer. So again, just helping you get out of trouble sometimes, you know, and if you're not smooth on the throttle, helping you get into it. So aero wise we are full up and full up. Right, that's just going to give us our balance for the car as it was. If we feel like we want to kill a bit of rotation, we just drop the front. If we feel like we want to increase the rotation, then we're going to have to drop the rear. Yeah, and that's, if we want speed, then like I say, we're going to want to drop them evenly. But I would say the only things you're going to need to change is create a little bit of extra rotation by dropping the front here, and then if you lose a bit of stability on the exit of the corner, just drop a bit of front aero. That's pretty much all you're going to need to do. If you're going on Bathurst or something like that and you want the more top speed, then drop these aero all the way down to the bottom and then see how it feels, and then you can apply a little bit of aero again. Rear grip on the exit of corners, rear aero if you want to control the entrance of the corner, and the mid corner then is front aero. So let's have a little look. Right, brakes, we've got 47%, so we're always going to brake from the rear, and 130. Maybe if you're on a wheel in some cars you're going to want to change that to 53. It's not going to make too much of a difference, but it's going to steal a little bit of rotation from the rear, especially on people who run a slightly less differential settings. Our difference is going to be the same for all cars. We're going to run a 50-20. This gives you a smooth throttle out. If you start getting a bit too much wheel slip, it will start locking out the inside wheel and give you a bit of extra control. If you're going to go into a bend, 20% on heavy braking in a light rear car is going to give you a lot more control, or even in a balanced car, like I say, this is going to give you balanced braking, balanced control, and you're still going to receive the fast reactions from everywhere else. If you wanted a little bit more rotation, you just drop the deceleration. If you wanted a little bit more rotation on the exit, that'd be the entrance of the corner. If you want a little bit more rotation on the exit of the corner, you can increase acceleration. This will just give you a little bit more slip faster on the rear wheels. You use it differently in front wheel drive cars and four wheel drive cars. We can explain that in another video. So for the wheel, let me show you this quickly. Let me push the button on the wheel. So for the wheel, I would set this up. I haven't had to go on the wheel yet with this one, but I would set it up because if you're using my wheel settings, you're going to want the fast wheel rotation and the confidence to be able to throw it into a corner. So you're going to go steering lock range of 50 and a force feedback scale of 175. But I would advise you to watch my wheel guide and use my wheel settings if you're going to do this. Otherwise you can stick to the force feedback that you're happy with your wheel settings. But I do advise you, if you're using a wheel, try my settings, take a picture of yours, you can always go back to them. But my settings, you aren't going to be spinning out anywhere. You're going to get more front grip and slip and feel than you've ever had. You're going to feel the weight of the car go from left to right. Honestly, like, I explain everything in my long wheel guide and I show you everything in my short wheel guide, so it's up to you which one you want to do. Go for the in-depth one, you'll understand how to change your own wheel guide. Go for the quick wheel guide, you can test mine out, try it against yours and see how it feels. But let me know in the comments, if this video's helped you. I've been trying to work on this for a while. It takes me a while. I'm recording it in one hit as well, so I just want it to be natural and explain everything to you. But that is where I would set mine. So we're going to go in, we're going to try the BMW very quickly, and I'm just going to show you what 4.3 for handling will still get you round Spa. So let's have a quick look. We'll reduce that. What do we have for Delta? So Delta's 237, so this now says it's 2 seconds slower than the Maloo or the Cadillac. Both of them hit the 35s, so let's hit a lap. But yeah, please give us a thumbs up and share this because I'm just, you know, this takes me a lot of work and I'm giving away all of my, they're not secrets here, I'm trying to make everyone faster. I just want this information to go out, and I see other people getting a lot more, you know, views and looks on their channel and subscriptions and things like that, and it's like I'm trying to do this as something that I'm going to carry on doing with every car game that comes out. You know, if you want to see stuff on ACC, let me know in the comments. I'll show you how to tune cars on ACC. I've just been focusing on Forza because I'm trying to build a kind of community, but I understand that everyone plays all sorts of other games, so I've not done a bloody rolling start here, so we're going to have a lap and then we'll but you can see straight away how smooth this car is with this tune. Very easy to drive, very easy to get in and out of corners, even with its low handling. We're a little bit late on the brakes. Try and get the time back. Sometimes it's nice to leave it in a high gear for braking and come down later. Gives you the rotation at the right time. A little bit of early shift as well every now and then. Because the gearing I've got is quite short anyway, early shifts don't really hurt you, you're still within the torque band. It's not all about finding the torque band, it's giving yourself more of a range of gear to use. You know, if I want to shift early, I'm not going to sacrifice acceleration because I've got long gears and I'm trying to use some sort of mythical torque band from the Mercedes or whatever, which I understand, but all horsepower's at the top end. Torque is for pulling yourself up hills and that, which is great, but horsepower is where your speed's going to be developed. It's about the rotational speed of the flywheel. The torque is about how much oomph the explosion had inside the chamber, in a sense. So that's more to do with the design of the chamber and the way the explosions are controlled by the point of detonation. Most of the time, like, you'll find my tunes, they're geared nice, they're sweet, you can use all the gears. I had to kill a little bit of speed there, still got out right. I mean, this was a standing start lap. But this is the best front engine rear wheel drive tune guide you will see, and I hope, you know, well, I hope you all have fun using it. I hope you now understand what you need to do with the car. So the main areas are, we need to not do telemetry or anything like that. You want to balance the car through its build. You want to pick the right engine, i.e. in A class and below it's going to want to be the 3.7 litre V6 or the 3.2 litre inline 6. I mean, unless you're stuck with standard engines like this, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, if you're going into the new Velocity Tour, then you're going to be one using the 5.2 litre V10 excuse me, because in S-Class or above, that is a dominant engine, and with a supercharger and the exhaust, it comes in at 751 horsepower. Most of the time you get the flywheel on as well, which helps with acceleration. Sorry with that. Excuse me, done a right old crap job with this car here. But I assure you this getting to the 31s as well. You can see how easy it is to drive. Oh, we've nicked a bit. Oh, pulling a little bit back. We'll really get up on that grass for that rotation on that corner. I didn't see what we got through in. I know we've made some mistakes on this, so it's probably not going to be a 31. We'll probably still pull back a 32. Which I'm pretty sure you'll all understand is a pretty good lap, especially how crap it's been. 137, 38's out of that time, 2.8's up. Let's get nice and wide on the entrance. Use the flick back. squeeze the throttle so we don't get too much wheel spin. Back on the gas. 2.9s. Oh, 33s. Don't know if I'm happy with that. Well, let me know in the comments, let me know if there's anything else you want to understand, but this is the base tune, so I will quickly run through it at the end just to show you where it's set and where to start, and then I'll quickly just, you know, break down again what bits you might want to change, just briefly. The 2 bits I'd change anyway, if I wanted to create a little bit of extra rotation. There we go, we're 4 seconds up. 4 seconds up, and we're not going to outbrake ourselves on this turn for the first time round this time. Brake nice and smooth, nice and early. Give ourselves time to roll in. Half throttle. Upper gear if we get a bit of slide. Down again. Upper gear early just to get a little bit of control out of that corner there. Use the torque. Nice and smooth out there. We're going to get right up on this curb. Get the rotation back down off of it. Getting nailed. 4.7 up. Beautiful corner. 4.7 up. Take a nice roll into this one. Down the gear just to get the rotation. Give us a nice wide line so we can get on the throttle early in this one. Just feel that front turn in. Early shift to control the slide. Make sure we didn't go too wide off the curb. Keeping it pinned since 1979. 5 seconds up. We're into 31 safely. Like I say, with this corner, we want to get inside here, run it right out, and then before we get to the line, we want to kill our speed, get our rotation, get back on the gas. Oh, we just held it. 5 seconds up still. Onto the curb, cut the curb, use the flick back, downshift, smooth throttle. We're out. 5098 up, and we are into the 31s. With a 31.5 to finish. There you go. That is the BMW doing 31s. So like I say, I'll run through the tune again very quickly with you. Let me know if this video's helped. Please give me a comment, please give me a share. Honestly, this is like something I've worked very hard to give you. I know people have been waiting for it, but I've had so much going on that I find it hard to find the time to do everything I need to do with the channel as we grow. You know, I do want to do more community events and get into doing some racing. So let me know in the comments if you want to get involved in a race. Drop your gamer tag in, add me on Xbox, and I promise you, if we get enough people with a name in the box, I'll create an event that will make it fun. We'll do one night league sessions where we do 4 or 5 races in a certain car. Might start with some Clio Cups and things like that, and then move up, but we'll make them different. I've already got my ideas, I just need the names. Put your name here. So tune again. So custom upgrade, what you've got to remember is we are balancing the car. So once you've applied as much grip and lightweight as you can, then we are going to balance the car with ballast to what it needs, as long as it's 50-50, right? And that is going to make any front engine rear wheel drive car behave itself neutrally and properly. And then you're going to take the Forza tune and you're going to stick it where the sun doesn't shine, and you're going to put it to 30-29. You're going to put your gear into around, you know, 39, 65, 90s, 115s, 157s. This goes for a 6-speed box as well, because most of the time my box is geared to 160, say, anyway. So just, you know, you can follow that guide, and then just again, like I say, increase or decrease your acceleration without changing anything else. Sometimes if you increase it slightly to get a bit more top speed, then decrease your front 2 gears again, just to give you a bit more launch out of the lights. I'd probably go down to like possibly 35 mile an hour in A class would be as low as I would go. 35 to 39 would be fine. And again, I'd probably be like 65 to 67 or something like that. So this has got the extra gear, so we're just probably starting off a little bit closer with the ratios here than we would have to fit the 7th gear in. So alignment wise, like I say, we've got the alignment, use this on every car, and we will go through tow and that as we go through front wheel drive tunes and 4-wheel drive tunes. If we get enough hits on this video, enough likes, I'll go through them as quick as I can and I'll bring them out to you, and I'll show you how effective a 4-wheel drive car can be and what beasts they can. I'll get Godzilla out, and we can get the Skyline and the GTO from Gran Turismo 2 or something like that, and show you how capable they are in all-wheel drive. So roll bars, we're going to start at 30-30. Springs, we're going to start at generally a pretty even number and then be maybe 20 apart. Here they're pretty even, but again, look, I'd probably drop that slightly, so we'll go to 880. You can try it yourself if you want a bit of extra protection from the compression of dips. Run it at 920, give you a little bit of extra rotation as well. If you want a little bit of extra control, just run it at 880, but anywhere between there will be fine. Slam it if you're on course where you're having problems with curbs, then just put it up. If you want a bit of extra rotation, up 1 click on the back. If you want a bit of extra control, up 1 click at the front, and you can go again, click at a time, just until you get where you want. But I'd be slammed. Same damping for every car. 9.8, 9.8, 30, 10. We've been through the geometry and why we've done it, and then aero and downforce. So the only things you're going to want to do if you want more rotation out of this car is drop the front, and then if you find you drop the front and then you want a bit of extra rotational control, don't do that, and you want a bit of extra rotational control, then you're going to need to at the same time drop the front aero. Yeah, if you want a bit more rotation, then you can drop the rear. But generally, you know, that's going to be for people who want to be able to seriously overdrive the car and use their skill to keep it in check. Because I sometimes might run more extreme tunes, which you've probably seen in other videos. But this is a safe tune for any skill level of driver to eke out a good time. I'm a pretty good driver. You just see me eke out a pretty good time in a couple of cars like the Maloo and the BMW and that you wouldn't normally see. And yeah, see me get quite capable of leaderboard times in them. So yeah. And then, like I say, use my wheel guide if you're using the wheel, and then you're going to be balance is going to be 47 130. If you're on a wheel in some cars, you might want to do 53 130 and just push your brake into the front. That'll give you a little bit of extra control. Also, I will say, if you're on a wheel for your differential, if you're going up into like maybe S class and R class and you struggle with the grip, then do not be afraid to go 20 80. For instance, in my video with my wheel guide, I'm in the AMR Pro. I do a 5-minute 7 lap on the wheel around Nordschleifer, and I've got the diff on 20 and 80, which gives me ultimate control, and it slows down the rotation because the steering wheel will put in more rotation than a controller, so you do not need the help of the diff and everything else as much. You've got it in other settings, but this is fine-tuned for a wheel. But here we're going to go 50 and 20. I'm on a controller, and you can try 50 and 20, will be fine on a wheel as well. But if you're going up in the classes and you want more, don't be afraid to add loads of deceleration diff, and that will give you loads of control going into a bend, and take away the rear acceleration diff, and that will give you loads of control coming out of the bend. You won't be fighting that unchallengeable oversteer. You'll thank me later for that one, trust me. Go and try the AMR Pro and put that on 20 and 80. Go and look at my video and use my AMR Pro tune that's in the video and try a lap. You'll feel how much confident you'll be in it. It is like playing the game in fast forward, but it's worth a try. And then force feedback settings, like I say, if you use my wheel guide, you're going to want the quicker responses from the steering wheel, so we're doubling down on the rotation by giving ourselves 2 times the rotation for the rotation of the wheel, so the car will have twice the input for the steering wheel you've got in your hands. Therefore, it gives you a lot easier to fight back the drift resistance that it seemingly applies when them back wheels come unstuck. You can get the turn in before the computer kind of locks you out, and you can generally hold it and control it. Again, you'll see that demonstrated in my stock BMW wheel guide tune video, where that car's a bit lively and I have to catch it a couple of times. So yeah, just enjoy the video, enjoy the tune. And force feedback we're going to put to 175, because in my full wheel guide I explain why you shouldn't be overdoing tunes, because it hides things. You will not realise how much you're hiding from yourself with force feedback settings and all this I need 20 newtons. You get my wheel settings, you'll have the best wheel settings, you'll have the most confidence you've had in the car ever since Forza's come out, and you'll thank me later. If this video's helped, please give me a thumbs up. Everything I need to support this channel is just you hitting the like button and you hitting the thumbs up on the video and sharing this with your friends. I want my tune guide to go everywhere. I don't necessarily want people to, you know, nick my tune guide, as it were. Could happen, you never know. But yeah, take this, run with it. Thank me in the comments. You know, if this is something you're going to use going forwards, and I've just saved you £2.99 a month on a shit tuning app, then let me know. But remember, guys, when the clutch drops, the bullshit stops, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys. See you soon.